It is Tuesday, which of course means it's time to answer the questions that you guys send in every single week on the Brendan Plays forums at brendanplays.com/forums or in the YouTube comment section down below. You can also leave a voice question for the show on brendanplays.com by clicking the big green button on the right hand side of the page. Well, this week I did not fall asleep during Raw, so I guess it was okay. I guess that's a positive. I guess it's a better week than last week. So this week was a little bit confusing. Some big things happened, don't get me wrong. So some things happened that kind of kept my interest, but some things I'm like, I'm kind of scratching my head around a little bit. So we're going to get into everything to do with Raw this week. We also have a big week in gaming. I got myself a lot of new games, which I want to talk about this week as well. So that'll be later on in the show as well. And I guess we also have a bit of an update of what's been going on with the channel, I suppose, as well. So, other than that, not really much going on for me personally. I've been all settled back at home now. I moved back home last week, so that's been pretty cool, all smooth sailing there. Everything has worked out pretty good, so I've just kind of been cruising along, settling back in, and I'm getting back into the grind, getting back into the groove of recording videos again. I've got myself my game capture that I can record PS2 games again, so I got the NBA stuff, and I got the GM mode for the SmackDown vs. Raw again, starting to get more Universe mode. I'm starting to really enjoy Universe mode again, so everything's really pretty sweet for me on that regard. So I guess, let's just get straight into Raw, shall we? I guess that's what you guys want to hear the most. So, this week, Monday Night Raw. Okay, so it was from Pittsburgh, so the crowd was okay at some points, other points pretty dead, really. I mean, and I suppose you can't blame the crowd. This is the thing that I want to kind of analyze and maybe touch on a little bit, because the crowd, a lot of people say, why isn't the crowd as lively these days? And why aren't the crowds more reactive? And one, the quality of the show that they get. I mean, come on. Do you really want to cheer your loudest, when you see the same match over and over, you see the same guys every single week over and over and over doing the same thing? So, do you really want to see that? I don't know, maybe not. Maybe, to me, I personally, I can understand why they wouldn't be that excited, but another thing is, technology, man, I know we're kind of just jumping straight into it this week, but technology, I tell you what, I've been to a couple of live events, and I go to sporting events quite often as well. Go to a few, 3 or 4 or 5 every, games every year. I try to get to as many as I can. And the big thing that I notice, and, it's pretty clearly evident, and I'm certainly one that I can be guilty of this as well, is that I'm always on my phone. Even when I attend a sport game, I do check my phone. Now, mind you, I don't live on it. Certainly when I'm out and about going to a wrestling event or a cricket or a football game or something like that, I don't live on my phone. In fact, I really will check it for a minute or two every hour or so and then put it away. Whereas some people, especially when I went to the live event earlier this year, everyone is just on their phones, taking pictures, sending tweets, texting their friends. They're not really paying attention to what's going on. So when something happens, you're like, oh wow, that was awesome. I think about, half the crowd is probably going to see that. Most of the time, people are going to have their heads down looking at their phones. So a lot of people aren't actually really watching the action. So when something does happen, a lot of people miss it. A lot of people don't actually see it. So I suppose, to kind of wrap this all up, this is one of the big reasons why crowd reactions are certainly down in recent years. It hasn't been the fact that nothing great has happened. A lot of people say, oh man, this is not an Attitude Era reaction. And the reason why those reactions don't really exist anymore is because back then everyone was looking at the show. Everyone was watching the show, talking to their friends about the show. They were talking about the show. And now everybody is sending a tweet about the show. Everyone is talking about the show on social media. They're not experiencing it for themselves, experiencing it through their phone and through the interactions on their phone rather than the interactions that they get with people actually watching the show. So it's a big difference between the 90s and the current era in terms of consumers, in terms of the people who watch the show and how we consume wrestling. So, I guess the crowds these days will always be pretty dull, and let's be honest, not a lot of great things happen throughout every single week on Raw. It's a 3-hour show as well, so all these kind of factors, they really contribute into the reason why crowd reactions are so low these days. And I think a 3-hour show, it's so draining, and they have like a at half an hour taping of Superstars beforehand, right? I think, they have some dark matches, they have that taping there, so you can really go there and sit through 4 hours of wrestling easily. 4 hours, that's a long time, and you even have a match after the show's done, so it can end up being a 4.5 hour show. If you want to watch the whole damn thing, that's a long time. And most of the time, I would say in that 4 hours that they see, maybe 45 minutes of it is worth watching. The rest of it is kind of filler or uninteresting or terrible. So you can sympathize with the fans, because for the most part, a lot of the things they're seeing aren't really that interesting. And when something does happen that's interesting, they're just going to be jaded. They're just not going to be into it. They're just going to be like, oh yeah, sweet, but kind of burnt out already. I know when I went to WWE Live earlier this year, I was kind of burnt out after the, maybe 2 hours, and I think it just went a tick over 2 hours, but by the time the main event kind of came around, I was a bit done, because I was really watching intently on majority of the matches, and I was kind of, chanting along, clapping along, really getting into it. So by the time the main event kind of rolled around, I was like, oh man, I'm done, I've kind of had enough, and once, finished off the main event, I was certainly out of there. I've had enough, so I can sympathize with them, because 3 hours is a long time. So the crowd reactions these days, we can complain about them all we want, but it's never really going to go back to being the way it was, because, like I said, the show isn't as good, and people are just on their phones. It's just the way it is. We kicked off this week's Monday Night Raw, though, with The New Day. Now, I missed the first couple minutes of the segment. I was trying to get the channel going. I actually, for once, got to watch it on the TV. Normally, I watch it on a live stream. So, for the first time in months, I actually watched it on TV. So, that was a nice, refreshing change. And I don't know, I feel like watching it on TV is a little bit of a different experience. I don't know, like the quality is obviously way better, and it just kind of feels kind of different to watch it on, actual TV compared to a live stream. I don't know, you watch a live stream for such a long time, it's so shit quality, and it just doesn't feel right. But watching on TV, it feels good, so I'm pleased that I can do that again. But we kicked it off with The New Day, who were great, and The New Day, always a highlight in the show. We talked about this so many times throughout the weeks, but The New Day is always great. But it seems as though they're trying to use The New Day to get Sheamus over. Now, mind you, The New Day originally had paired themselves, or kind of aligned themselves a little bit with Seth Rollins. And then obviously Seth Rollins got injured just basically straight after that happened. So I think they're kind of wanting to pair The New Day because they know The New Day is successful. They know they're very entertaining. They know that they're over. They're trying to pair them up with the other top-level heels to get them over more and help them out as well, which is not a bad idea, but I will say I think The New Day was a little bit overexposed in this episode. They had the opening segment, they were on commentary, and then at the end of the segment, at the end of the show as well. So 3 segments they were prominently featured on for 20 minutes, 10, 15, 20 minutes. So a long time. So they had a lot of TV time, and this is one of the things I really feared about The New Day. Would they be on the show way too much? And for the most part, they haven't been on the show enough. But I think tonight, just a little bit too much. Probably should have stuck at the 2 segments. Maybe they could have gone away with the commentary. Maybe they could have gone away with the opening segment. I don't know. But you scrap one of them. Or I don't think they really were needed in the main event. I get it. They wanted to have the numbers game and the advantage. I get that. But I just feel as though perhaps just a little bit too much New Day. And, the thing is, Seth Rollins was on the show so many times. Half the show was Seth Rollins, and it really didn't help him. Seth Rollins on a couple segments, great. He's entertaining. I can put up with that. I'm okay with that. The New Day, as great as they are, you don't want them on every single segment because, then they will get stale. You feel jaded. You don't want to see them. You'll get tired of them more. And when you got to act that's hot, yes, you want to utilize it a lot, but you don't want to utilize it too much. You want to utilize it in small doses that are very effective, rather than giving way too much that doesn't really have much effectiveness. And that's exactly what happened on this show. Way too much New Day and not very effective at all. Whilst their comedy is good, some things to me are a bit cringy, but for the most part, they're very entertaining. I'm still very much enjoying The New Day. So definitely enjoy The New Day, but definitely don't want to see way too much of them, if you know what I mean. Just too much New Day is not a good thing. We also have the Becky Lynch versus Charlotte match. Now, I know this is a little bit later on the show, but I want to touch on this one now. So, we're going to see a triple threat matchup. Becky Lynch, Charlotte, and Paige. It seems as though that's the plan right now. Becky Lynch pretty much had Charlotte, was trying to beat Charlotte, and Charlotte faked an injury. Now, this is very odd. I don't know what was the deal of this. I mean, I get it, Ric Flair's out there, dirtiest player in the game, whatever, but this was a little bit odd. I didn't really get the reason behind this. Are they trying to create some dissension between Charlotte and Becky? Is Becky going to be fed up with Charlotte after she did that, and she's going to gun for that Divas Championship, and we're going to try and elevate Becky into that title division? Because we still have Sasha Banks on the side as well. She's winning plenty of matches, and she's obviously being groomed to be the next number one contender. Now they're going to pull the trigger on her at TLC, or are they going to do the slow burn, and eventually Sasha Banks will win the title WrestleMania time? I think WrestleMania time would be the best decision. Keep building Sasha. Keep her, not flying under the radar, but keep her there. Keep her in the discussion, but not pull the trigger on her yet. Do the feud with Paige. Continue that. Do the feud with Becky Lynch. And perhaps by the time Fastlane comes around, then you give Sasha Banks the big push, and you give her opportunity at Charlotte, or at becoming the next number one contender, and then you give her an opportunity at the Divas Champion, whoever that may be. I don't think it will be Charlotte at WrestleMania time, to be fair. So whoever's the champion by WrestleMania time, I would give Sasha Banks that opportunity and win the title at WrestleMania. Better to wait then than now. I think you give her the title now, it won't be as effective. But if you build her up for the next 6 months, they have been building up for a while now, probably about a month now. So they keep building her up till WrestleMania time, it'll be much more effective, and I think it'll be more well received by the fans as well. So as for Becky, Charlotte, and Paige, so a triple threat match, I'm okay with that. I think, the whole Paige thing with Charlotte, Paige lost, let's be honest, she lost, so she should really be out of the title picture by now, but I guess they want to do the whole PCB kind of thing, and I think that's fine, a triple threat matchup for the Divas title. I would love to see stipulation involved, but I don't think that will ever happen. For some reason, they still have this stigma where women cannot use weapons, or they can't do anything interesting. Wouldn't it be great? A tables match between the women. Wouldn't it be great? A steel chair match. A ladder match. Something between these women to spice it up. Do something different. Wouldn't that be cool? Wouldn't that be a great way to generate a little bit more interest in this division, which is apparently going for a revolution? What's more revolutionary than having a ladder match for the women's title? We haven't seen one of those in forever. Or if at all, I can't recall. So, wouldn't that be great? Wouldn't that be different? Wouldn't that be something that people would want to see? How would the women utilize these weapons? How would the women, how far would these women go? I would definitely be very interested to see that. And you have Charlotte, Paige, and Becky Lynch, all great workers. I think this could be a really good matchup. So that's something to keep in back in their minds. I don't think they're going to do that, let's be honest. So I think it's just going to be a straight-up triple threat match. If not, it could even be just Charlotte versus Paige again. Or, Charlotte versus Becky, or Becky versus Paige. We don't know, but I just don't. If it's a triple threat matchup, I would love to see them up the ante a little bit and just give this match a little bit of extra emphasis. Why not? The TLC, you can get away with it. It doesn't have to be a crazy ladder match, but then hell, they don't even have to hit each other with a ladder, I guess. They could just utilize the ladder and perhaps just fight on top of the ladder and kind of, add something a little bit different, a different element to a women's match that we haven't seen in a long time. So that would be my suggestion for that one. We also saw Rusev back, and he's back with Lana. So a lot of talk this week that Lana was perhaps not even going to be coming back to TV at all. A lot of the dirt sheets were reporting, Lana has nuclear heat. The whole backstage are absolutely furious at Lana, and she's never going to be coming back to TV. Well, the next week here she is. So I guess we can put those rumors to bed. So I think Lana coming back is a good decision. And I guess we're going to talk about the whole League of Nations thing later on. But I guess Rusev, I don't know what the hell's going on there. Is 1 minute he's this, Bulgarian lover. He just loves his fiancée so much. He's willing to put the match aside to go and fend by her side. The next minute he's out with Sheamus and Bad News Barrett and Del Rio fighting for this European overseas stable. I don't know. It's just all over the place, isn't it? So that's something we'll talk about in a moment. But Rusev back with Lana. I guess they're still kind of playing off the whole love angle thing. And I think it's time that we get Rusev back to being a Bulgarian ass kicker. Let's be honest. Rusev, when he was the US champion, undefeated, kicking everyone's ass, going through the whole roster, was great. I was a big fan. Very big fan, and I was really, really enjoying his work. But now, ever since he's been involved in these love angles, and now he's like he's becoming the Bulgarian playboy. We saw Khali going from, this dominating, unbeatable guy, this giant who's just beating The Undertaker and everyone, to the Punjabi playboy. It seems as though Rusev's going to the same route. Rusev's beaten everyone, and now he's kissing everyone and crying when he's getting broken up and he's heartbroken. It's awful. This guy has gone from being an absolute monster to being nothing within a space of, I was going to say 12 months, but let's be honest, 6 months. Not even that. I mean, ever since Cena beat him, it was done. He was finished from there. So, maybe 3 months, Rusev's gone from being the man to being absolutely nothing. So it's a bit of a shame, isn't it? And some injuries have plagued him in recent times as well. So hopefully Rusev can get back to somewhere where he was, because we need more top level heels. And to be fair, they're trying to elevate Barrett, Rusev, Del Rio, and Sheamus as this top-level heel stable. I'm okay with that. I think it's a good decision. These guys, they're all just scream mid-card to me, upper mid-card guys. None of them scream main eventer. So to me, they're trying to elevate this mid-card group to being, a prominent main event stable. I don't think that's ever going to work. I don't think they're ever going to succeed in doing that. But it's, good on them for trying something a little bit different. I'm okay with that, because stables to me haven't been utilized enough in the WWE. Tag teams, trios, stables, foursomes. Not that foursome, but the foursome. They haven't been utilized enough in the WWE in the last few years, I think. You look at the Shield, very, very successful. Look at the Wyatt family, pretty successful. But other than that, not many other stables kind of utilized that much in the last few years. So I think having more stables is a good thing, because these guys naturally are going to be forming alliances, and they have common enemies. Well, team up. That's just common sense. So more stables makes sense. More tag team guys makes sense, and I like it. So I'm glad they're doing the League of Nations, and we'll talk more about that in a moment. So the next thing coming up, Tommy Dreamer. Well, this was a surprise, and really the one thing that kind of got me out of my chair this episode, well, nearly, I was kind of really disinterested, and I'm like, holy shit, that's Tommy Dreamer. And it kind of sparked my interest, and I watched the end of the segment, whereas most of the time I was kind of in and out of the show. I wasn't really paying too much attention, but I think one thing I want to say is the Dudley Boys need more mic time. I think the Dudley Boys were great on the mic, and I think those guys both are good talkers. Devon doesn't talk as much, but he's effective in the things he says. Whereas Bubba Ray, obviously, great promo. So those two guys need more mic time, and I think a Bray Wyatt interaction with the Dudley Boys more often, I think that'll make for an interesting rivalry that we can see here. So I think this is going to be a really well played feud between these three guys. 3-on-3. So I think that's pretty good. So Tommy Dreamer back. I'm obviously surprised. Many people thought it was going to be Spike Dudley because he was talking about a family member. Honestly, Spike Dudley, you bring him back, you put Spike Dudley against Braun Strowman, it's just a joke. It'd be ridiculous. So I think, honestly, Tommy Dreamer, he's got a bigger name than Spike Dudley. I think if they brought back Spike, most people wouldn't know who the fuck he is. Let's be honest. At least Tommy Dreamer's been around, in and out for the last, 5 or so years. So I think Dreamer coming back is good. He looked a little bit sluggish, let's be honest. Devon himself, that gut is growing a little bit on him as well. So I don't know what he's going on there. Is he, bulking up a little bit? I'm not sure. But I noticed that a little bit this week on Raw. That I'm going to say the one guy who looked really good was Bubba Ray. He was kind of moving around really good. So that's kind of ironic, isn't it? We would have thought Bubba Ray would perhaps be the slowish one. But certainly Dreamer was a little slow. But, Dreamer's a perfect fit for this kind of situation. Obviously the Dudley Boys, they're going to get their ass handed to them. They're going to lose. They've been losing recently anyways. There's no way they're going to beat the Wyatt family. Tommy Dreamer is that sympathetic babyface. You bring him in, and you cannot help but cheer the guy. Yeah, Tommy Dreamer. You can't boo the guy. Why would you? He's just this hard-working guy. He's coming in, he's trying to, help out his friends, help out his family. How could you boo that? I think it's a perfect fit. He looks okay. He's a hardcore legend. So you bring him in for a tables match. Makes sense. Now, the question is, are we going to see a 4-on-4? Is Bray Wyatt going to compete? I don't think that's going to happen, to be fair. I think it'll just be a 3-on-3. And I'm a little disappointed that they did the 3-on-3 on Raw. I would have saved that. I would have just said, look, Tommy Dreamer doesn't wrestle until the pay-per-view. Keep him to the pay-per-view. But instead, straight away, they had him on Raw competing. I thought that was a bit of a mistake. I would have just had the two teams kind of battle each other out there and had that little bit of an interaction that they did later on. I would have just done that rather than the match itself, because I think too much of the time they're giving away these matches. You had Sheamus versus Roman Reigns on Raw for the world title. Did we really need to see that? I get the whole storyline behind it, and it worked out okay in the end, but they're giving away these big matches too often on Raw. And I suppose you could argue, well, hey, the ratings are down, we have to do these bigger matches, we need these returns, we need these matches to happen, but more build-up. The thing is, people aren't going to tune in to Raw. People aren't, if they're not watching Raw right now, they're not going to see Tommy Dreamer return. You need to utilize the build-up beyond that. So next week is when you utilize Tommy Dreamer. People are going to go, oh shit, Tommy Dreamer return, that's pretty cool, maybe I'll check out what they're doing with him next week. That's when you utilize Dreamer. That's when you utilize that storyline. Because this week, yes, you've got him back. You've done enough. You've done the return. You've gained the interest of the fans. Then next week, you build off that. Perhaps you do the match next week. Hey, Tommy Dreamer's first match in however long. That's cool. You build that up. But rather than just kind of give it away straight away, you build it up and you give it a little bit of a hype. You promote it on social media. People can see it, tweet it, share it. Talk about it a little bit, and then next week people will be interested in that match and tune in next week. I just think that's one of the problems that they have. They're giving away things on Raw without any kind of notice at all. And I think that's kind of another big thing. Obviously, they're not writing the scripts in advance. They don't have long-term planning. They're just doing things on the fly, week to week to week. And that's not a good decision to do, because I think you need to at least be 1 month in advance. You don't have to be 6 months in advance, because things change so rapidly in the WWE right now. Especially in this day and age, things are always changing. But you don't have to be 6 months in advance, but even like 2 weeks in advance, 1 month in advance. Just kind of have an idea of where you're going. Just be prepared. Yes, you can tweak it along the way, but okay, Dreamer's back this week. Next week we're going to do this tag team matchup. Dreamer's going to be in it. Let's build it up. Let's tweet it out. Let's promote it for next week. And, alright, next week's main event. We know what it's going to be. Let's promote it a week in advance so we can gain some interest for that match. But they don't do that anymore, which is why I think they really struggle in a way to gain any interest in their show, because there's no reason to be interested. You tune into Raw, and you may see a tweet or so about a match that's been announced a few hours before the show airs. But other than that, it's not like you're watching Raw and they're like, alright, next week we have this huge main event. Don't miss it. They don't have that. So there's no real reason to kind of go, oh yeah, I can't miss next week's Raw because this is going to happen. No, it's a guessing game. You don't know what's going to happen. You tune in, and it's like a lottery. You don't know what's going to happen. You don't have any idea what the hell, who's opening the show up, what are some of the matches that are going to be featured. You have no idea. That sometimes they might give you 1 or 2 matches, but wouldn't it be good to announce on the show, next week our main event is going to be this. Next week, we're going to have Dolph Ziggler versus Tyler Breeze one-on-one in a Survivor Series rematch, rather than giving it away on Raw without any notice. So this is a big reason why I think the WWE are just struggling a little bit to maintain any interest from the fans, because they're shooting themselves in the foot. You give away these matches, you give away these returns without really any thought behind it. They're just kind of throwing these guys out there and hoping it sticks and hoping it works, rather than any kind of long-term thinking about it. But anyways, Tommy Dreamer returning, great, happy with that. Wyatt family versus Dudley Boys and Dreamer, fantastic. That's the one match I'm looking forward to so far on the card. I think that'll be my most anticipated matchup thus far. Next up, League of Nations. Let's get straight into it. So last week we ripped apart a Sheamus, saying that his title reign is going to be a disaster. And I still stand by those words. I still think Sheamus sucks. I still think Sheamus is a boring champion. But now he's associated himself with 3 other guys: Rusev, Del Rio, and Bad News Barrett. Now, you all know my feelings for Bad News Barrett are not exactly very pleasant, with good reasoning. Bad News Barrett sucks. And you can tell Bad News Barrett, he just doesn't belong, does he? You look at him and you go, what the hell is this guy doing here? They're trying to make this a serious stable, and Bad News Barrett hasn't done anything since winning the King of the Ring. And even then, winning the King of the Ring was beyond a joke at the time anyway. So, I just don't know. I mean, Bad News Barrett there just feels wrong. To me, he feels like the guy who's going to take the pin every single match. He's going to be the guy who just loses all the time, which is, if that's the case, fine by me. Rusev, okay, he's got a bit of muscle to him. He's got a bit of size. He can be the bit of the crusher, be the big guy. Okay, that's fine by me. Rusev 6 months, a year ago, that'd be a great fit. Really, really good. I would have been more than happy with that. Rusev now, well, the Bulgarian playboy just isn't all that menacing anymore. So I just don't know. I mean, if this is a way to kind of build him back up, fine. If not, well, I don't know. But let's just hope they do something with him. Now, the biggest problem I have with this group is not Sheamus, it's not Bad News Barrett, it's not Rusev, it's Alberto Del Rio. How much this guy just looks so much out of place. How much this guy just looks like he's a fish out of water. This guy, he looks like he's just the fourth wheel. He just looks like he's just there. And even the way they were approaching the ring, even the way they did the match, he was just kind of like there. He just looks out of place. It just doesn't feel right. Rusev, Barrett, Sheamus, I think that's good. Those three are fine. I don't know why they put Del Rio in there. Did they feel as though they needed a little bit more star power? They needed a little bit more credibility? Is that the reason? Because I just think Del Rio just does not suit this group at all. He just doesn't fit in. You got this European stable, and now you got this Mexican guy. Why? It just doesn't fit the group at all. It doesn't fit the mold. Another interesting thing as well is no Zeb Coulter and no Lana are approaching the ring when these guys came out either. So, not sure if they're going to have their own little separate things, then go together as a group. I don't know yet. But, so, Del Rio just does not fit at all. I think Del Rio was better off doing his own thing. I don't think him in this group is a good thing. And I always got the feeling that Del Rio was just going to walk out or just turn on them. It just doesn't feel like Del Rio is a part of the group. It doesn't feel like he wants to be there. It doesn't feel like Del Rio is happy to be in the group. Now, I don't know, that could be Del Rio not actually wanting to be in the company altogether, which is probably fair enough, or actually wanting to work the matchup, which is what I get a bit of a vibe from Del Rio. I get that vibe that he doesn't really give a shit at the moment. He doesn't really care about what he's doing, doesn't really have much passion for the matches, and that's a bit of a shame already. I just kind of get that vibe from him. I got that vibe from CM Punk when he was around, and I suppose it's the whole Del Rio incident that we kind of know about, a lot of disgruntling backstage. Is that kind of weighing on my mind and kind of deciding my thought process behind that? Perhaps, but I just get the feeling that Del Rio just doesn't really give a shit, so that's a bit of a shame, and if I can see that in his work, that's a bit of a problem as well. But one of the things I have a problem with the League of Nations is that they have their own separate storylines. So we had Rusev and Ryback going after each other. We had Del Rio and Swagger going after each other. Bad News Barrett had nobody because nobody gives a shit about Bad News Barrett. Sheamus and Roman Reigns are going after each other. So they bring all these guys together, and then they ignore those other rivalries. Now, obviously, Roman Reigns and Sheamus, yes, whatever, that's still included. But no Ryback and no Swagger. Yet Del Rio and Rusev were involved in this match. So they're having these separate rivalries, and then they're having this bigger rivalry at the end of the show. It just confuses me, and I think it's going to confuse the fans. Who are these guys fighting? Who are these guys going after? Are they going after Ryback? Are they going after Swagger? What is going on here? It's all over the place. It just feels all over the place. And another thing, way too many matches. This is another problem with Raw. 3 hours too long. They're having guys do double matches, triple matches, having these guys on the same show too many times. Del Rio working a second match, Rusev working a second match, Usos working a second match. They're having these guys on the show way too many times. And I think it's going to really play on, the quality of the show. And I think it has. Even though they've kind of done these matches earlier on the show, it was still like an hour or two ago. We've seen them, we've done that. And when they come out, the crowd, they've already seen them for the night. They're not going to give a fuck. It's not like their reactions are going to get any bigger. It's not going to happen. So the reactions for these guys are going to get less and less and less the more we see them. And it's pretty evident. That's happening. And it's happening way too much. these guys are being on the show and having way too many matches. They need to have one match a show each. Why can't we utilize some of these guys that aren't getting on the show at all? You can't tell me that, we can't fit a Neville match on. You can't tell me that we need to see the New Day 3 times on the show. We need to see Sheamus 6 times. Why? We need to see more variety. That's the thing. We can't fit Damien Sandow on the show. I mean, what is this? We can't fit these guys on the show. Why? I don't know. We need to see Del Rio wrestle twice. We need to see the Usos twice. No, we should be just seeing these guys once. If they wanted to do... I get the storyline behind it. This week is fine. I get that. I'm perfectly okay with that. The Ryback and Rusev thing, that to me, I don't think that was needed. I think they should have just had Rusev making out with Lana and the segment, then move on to the main event with Rusev in there, with the League of Nations. I don't think they needed to do the match with Ryback there. So I think that was a mistake. And like I said, Del Rio in their group does not fit at all. He should just be fighting Jack Swagger one-on-one at the pay-per-view. Forget about the League of Nations. He should just be doing his own thing. And also the League of Nations, one pay-per-view too late, isn't it? Wouldn't it be great if we did a 4-on-4 at Survivor Series? I know in the end we needed to do the title match, but wouldn't it be great if we did a 4-on-4? A traditional Survivor Series tag team matchup, with 2 teams that actually look okay. You have a legitimate stable and you have family. So wouldn't it be great? But hey, one pay-per-view too late, it sucks. It would be nice to actually have a decent Survivor Series tag team matchup rather than the jokes that we got at the pay-per-view itself. But, so that's pretty much it for Monday Night Raw. I mean, I did enjoy the show to agree. Some things I certainly liked, and again, a lot of filler. A lot of things that are just kind of meh. I know the whole Adam Rose did the whole new thing he's doing. That sucks to me. I just cannot stand Adam Rose at all. Nothing he does to me is ever going to entertain me. So if you want my opinion on that, I really don't have an opinion because I don't care. And really, other than that, not much to really get into. I mean, Dolph Ziggler did beat Tyler Breeze. Tyler Breeze got the old jobber entrance. So, like I said, I feel as though Tyler Breeze, he's going to be absolutely nothing. I think he's going to be on main event Superstars by the end of the year, which is not too far away. I mean, if not, beginning of January, at least WrestleMania time, he's going to be on the pre-show Battle Royal, and he's going to be doing absolutely jack shit, which again, big mistake. They should not have brought him up. It's a bad time, and hey, he could be utilized better, but he's not. And again, you're giving away Ziggler and Breeze, who just had a pay-per-view matchup, you're giving it away again on Raw, so... Anyways, we'll move on from that. So we're going to Mick Foley, who had a big rant this week on WWE on his Facebook page, basically saying he was almost done with the WWE. Now, I don't have his actual comments up in front of me, so if you want to check out what he says, just search up Mick Foley on Facebook. But Mick Foley basically saying that, he's done with the WWE if they don't start to fix their shit. And I think it's great to see Foley stepping up and talking and speaking his mind about the problems that the WWE have. It's great to see somebody who doesn't have the fear to speak out about the WWE. It's a nice, refreshing change. You don't really see many guys do it. If it does happen, it's always the same guys who are already fucked, who are never going to be coming back to the WWE ever again. But a guy like Foley, who still appears here and there on the WWE, he's always in and out of the WWE. It's great to see him share his opinions on the product and not be afraid to share any negative thoughts. And he certainly has never been afraid in the past. Obviously with the Daniel Bryan thing that he did, smashing the TV, he was pissed off about that. And now doing something like this, it all helps. It helps generate awareness and helps people in the WWE wake up to themselves. I know people in the WWE would have read that Mick Foley rant. I know Vince McMahon would probably be aware of that. I know Triple H would probably know of it. So I know people in the WWE would be listening to Foley. So it's a great thing that Mick Foley is stepping up and saying these things, because this is only going to benefit the WWE. And right now the ratings are at an all-time low. And did this week's show deserve a better rating? A little bit better rating than last week, yes. I mean, last week I fell asleep. This week I managed to stay awake. So that's a positive. But did it really deserve a big rating? No. It probably is going to deserve a slight increase. Back to the 3 million mark. So they don't really deserve the ratings right now because the show quality just isn't good enough. And like I said earlier on, you need some more build-up, you need to use some more storylines, you need to do these things to fix your show. And they just don't seem to do that. So good on Foley for stepping up and speaking his mind about the WWE. Another few things this week as well. Solomon Crowe and Brad Maddox both gone from the WWE as well. That's a disappointing thing about Solomon Crowe. I thought he had some potential. I thought he was quite a talented guy on the indie circuit. So it'd be a shame to see him go, but I wish him all the best. I think he'll do pretty fine on the indies. I think, just his gimmick and the way he was used in NXT just was not good. He had a bit of bad luck. They kind of paired him up with that Zara girl who Seth Rollins' girlfriend, the one with the whole swastika kind of incident. They paired him up with her, and she got fired like the next day. So he had some bad luck, and he had some bad gimmicks, and he just had some bad booking. So I guess the stars didn't really align for Solomon Crowe, and I guess he'll go away and see what he can do. And if he's good enough, he'll be back in the company at some point, hopefully doing a little bit better than what he's doing right now. But I think he'll be just fine. As for Brad Maddox, could not care less. This guy, when he was on TV, just didn't do it for me. I think this guy always, I don't know if it was the character or the way he was trying to portray it, but it always looked as though he didn't know what the hell he was doing. He just looked like a fish out of water, just like a deer in the headlights. I don't know, I just think Brad Maddox is a wrestler who really cares. Did you ever get excited for a Brad Maddox match? I never did. I thought that we were going to do something with Adam Rose and Maddox with that whole fitness guru tag team idea that they did a few months ago. I thought they were going to do something with that, and I would have been okay with that. I would have liked to have seen that at least tried. But in the end, Brad Maddox was tombstoned by the Undertaker wearing, what was that, some turkey costume or something like that. Tombstone by the dead man and out of the company. So there you go, Brad Maddox, he's done. So no real loss, and I want to know why. Why now? And why haven't we seen more firings this year? Why are some guys, look at Fandango, Adam Rose, Zack Ryder, The Ascension, why are some of these guys who just have absolutely nothing to offer at all, why are they still in the company? Why are these guys who aren't getting used, why are they still in the company? That's a big question I want to know, because that's kind of mind-blowing to me that they've been so reluctant to fire people, yet in the last couple of weeks they've actually probably fired people more in the last few weeks than they have nearly all year, because they've got this new policy where they don't want to release people, they don't want to fire people because it brings bad PR, they want to let their contracts expire, they want to let them leave on their own accord rather than firing them, which is ridiculous, by the way. So I'm glad they're actually releasing people, because if you don't need them, get rid of them. Get rid of them and bring somebody new to replace them. There's plenty of guys in NXT that can do it. There's plenty of guys you can sign on the indies that can do it. If they're no good, why have them? This is the pinnacle, apparently. This is meant to be the best company for wrestling. This is meant to be the top of the top. So if this guy doesn't cut it, get rid of him. Hit the bricks, hit the showers, get the hell out of our company, and don't come back, because if you don't belong, you don't belong. Don't hang on to them for too long. Look at JTG. Did nothing for years and years and years, and they held on to him. Why? He's just wasting money. They always have these financial problems, and they want to cut back on their sets and their pyro and making the show more exciting. They cut back on that, and you know what they spend it on? Talent. They spend it on money put towards these contracts that don't need to be signed, that don't need to be had. So we could be having these different sets for pay-per-views, more pyro, more exciting new graphics and screen, all these new things to benefit and upgrade the production quality of the show, but yet they don't do that because they're spending this money on guys who don't need to be there and guys who don't belong. There's so many guys that can cut and get rid of because they just don't belong. And you look at guys like Big Show, $1 million+ contract, Kane probably nearly around the $1 million mark, Sheamus I know is making more than $1 million. They're signing these guys with huge contracts that don't deserve them. And, so much money has been wasted towards these contracts, and that could be sorted out. And, I know, a couple of years ago now, they did the whole budget cut thing, and they really tried to cut back on all these things that they possibly could, and that was, the stage for one. They really cut back on these custom stages. Only WrestleMania really gets a stage nowadays, which is a real shame. It would be nice if they put that, extra funding they had to try and make their show more appealing, which is another reason why Raw is so dull and boring, because it's the same show every freaking week. The same set, the same look. It's been the same look for the last 3-4 years. They really need to try and, spice things up a little bit. Change it up. Oh my god, the Raw looks a little different this week. Nobody's going to watch anymore. No, that's not the case. If anything, people are like, oh shit, Raw looks different this week. Let me check this out. Let me check out how Raw looks. Oh, a new set, a new stage. That's cool. Rather than the same thing every single week. You can't do the same thing every single week and expect people to be excited for your show. Expect people to want to tune in every single week. You just cannot expect that to happen. They need to change their ways. So that's pretty much all I have for this week in terms of wrestling. We have some more questions that will be coming up a bit later on, but I want to kind of touch on a little bit about the GM Mode series on the channel. We have the new SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 General Manager Mode video about ready to go up. It's already available right now on the website, BrendanPlays.com. I uploaded it yesterday, and I wanted to make it private and upload it at a better time, because obviously I did the NBA video yesterday, Let's Talk Tuesdays today, tomorrow probably another Universe Mode, then I might do the GM Mode. So I want to make it public at an appropriate time, so it doesn't get lost in the shuffle. So if you want to check that out, that's on the website already. NBA 2K16 My GM is back as well. I'm trying to make sure that stays around. I really want to keep going with that. I know the view counts are not good for it at all, and I understand that, respect that, that's fine. But I think the variety is always a good thing for me, and it's good to do something different and spice it up a little bit. And I enjoy doing it. I mean, I love sports commentary. One of my dream jobs when I was a kid was being a sports commentator, which is probably why I enjoy doing the WWE stuff, because it's pretty close to sport, and I can be a commentator, which is what I wanted to be. I love doing NBA commentary, just kind of talking over the match and getting hyped up and getting excited about what's happening on the action, all the action on the screen. So I enjoy doing these videos, and I definitely want to keep doing with that, and especially 2007 GM Mode. I love that game. So SmackDown vs. Raw 2007 is fantastic, and I cannot wait to get back in that game and play more of it. So this week, I'm going to grind out some more videos on that. I'm certainly going to do a lot more GM Mode, so expect to see plenty of those coming up. I want to get 10 of those done and just kind of upload heaps of them. Just kind of really go on an uploading frenzy. I would love to do that. I don't think I'm really capable of doing it, but I would love to do that. So that's something that I'm going to try and strive to do sometime in the next couple of weeks. Another thing that has been going on this week is, what is Brendan playing? I tell you what, a lot of games have come my way this week. I got some new games myself. My friend has been buying me some new games as well. I have a lot of newies. I have a lot of new games. It seems as though every week I have a new game that I'm talking about. It's kind of crazy that that's really the case, because I think I just buy too many games, and I don't really get around to finishing too much of them, but I have a lot of games. It's really evident. My PlayStation is now full. 2 terabytes is completely filled up, so that's a bit of a problem that I have. But anyways, this week, got my hands on Halo 5. I don't know, did I get that last week or this week? I'm pretty sure I got that just after last week, so just after Tuesday. I think I got that on Wednesday last week. So I have Halo 5. I haven't played too much of it, but I have enjoyed it. But I do suck at Halo 5 miserably. I am absolutely abysmal and pathetic at Halo 5. And it's surprising, because I kick ass at Call of Duty. I'm pretty good at Battlefield. I'm pretty good at shooters in general. When it comes to Halo 5, I don't know if it's the controller. I'm not used to playing Xbox controller. I'm trying to make excuses here. I'm just getting my ass handed to me. I'm just coming on there, playing Halo, and I'm getting outplayed, outclassed. Perhaps I just don't know the game mechanics. I just don't know what's the best guns to go about using. That's probably a big reason behind it. But I'm just getting my ass handed to me. But when I do have a good game, it feels really satisfying. Getting kills in the game is very, very satisfying, very, very fun. So Halo 5, I just need to invest more time into it, get more hours onto it, and I haven't played the campaign yet on it. That's going to be a while away for sure, but I want to get back into playing Halo 5, back on the Xbox grind, and actually, I played the Forza Horizon 2 Fast and Furious DLC. My girlfriend Keely actually, got all the achievements for me on it, so that was kind of interesting. I was making videos and things like that, and I came back and she got all the achievements for me, so I was like, oh shit, okay, that's cool. So, so I watched her play that, and I played a bit of it myself, so that's pretty cool. I really like Forza. I think that's a game that if I had to say what's my favorite Xbox game, probably Forza. Forza Horizon 2 might be my favorite so far. I don't like motorsport because I like arcadey kind of races, you know. You race around cities and things like that rather than racing around actual racetracks. That bores the hell out of me. So Forza Horizon 2 is a very, very good game, and I was able to play the Fast and Furious DLC, which I know is old now, but it was a nice little change of pace anyways. I also got myself Rare Replay, which is like the old school classics full of heaps of games that you get on the Xbox One. The first game that I really wanted to jump into was Banjo-Kazooie. I don't know about you guys, but when I was a kid, Banjo-Kazooie was phenomenal. And I tell you what, I was absolutely trash at Banjo-Kazooie. I had no idea how to do it. You know, I was terrible at it, but I loved it. I don't know, it was a game that I needed to play a lot more. I just didn't understand it when I was 3 years old, 4 years old, 5 years old. I just didn't get it. And why would I? I'm freaking 4 years old. But hey, I loved the game, enjoyed the game, and I played the hell out of it when I was a kid. And now I have it back in my hands again. And it's great to kind of relive these classic games. And obviously the graphics, the things like that, they don't stand out, you know, in this day and age, but it's still cool to go back and, you know, it doesn't really lose its magic. You know, you go back and you still enjoy the game. You know, you don't look at it too differently. All I know now is that the dialogue and things like that are very, you know, childish and kind of goofy, but that's okay. You know, it is what it is. It's a game made for kids, but, you know, it's still a good game to go back and kind of check out and relive some of the childhood memories, which is always sweet. I also got Need for Speed and Just Cause 3, but I haven't played those yet. My friend bought them for me. They're still on the download. I actually had Need for Speed downloaded. I just haven't played that one yet. I also got Tony Hawk Pro Skate. I mean, I tell you, I got a lot of games this week. Tony Hawk Pro Skater 5. I have it. The abysmal game that everyone has been avoiding. I got it. I know, I'm a rebel. I don't give a fuck what people think. The game was on sale, 65% off. It was cheap. And, well, I didn't pay for it. My friend bought it for me. So I got the game. And to be honest, I haven't really found that many issues with it. I've been enjoying it. I've been playing it. I'm not too bad at it. Some of the missions in the game, I'm pretty, you know, shitty at. But for the most part, I'm just kind of enjoying it. It's a bit of a throwback. It feels like an old school game, an old school Tony Hawk game. It feels like I'm playing Pro Skater 2, to be honest with you, which is a good thing. And I'm enjoying it. So I haven't encountered too many game-breaking glitches and bugs. I did get the game when the patch just came out. So it was a 7 gigabyte patch. I got the game the day the patch came out, so it was kind of good timing from me. And I don't know if that's kind of really fixed the stability and the performance of the game, but I haven't really encountered that many issues with it so far, which is certainly a positive, so that's a good thing as well. And also, I have been on the trophy hunting grind. This month and this whole year, actually, I really want to get a lot more trophies. So I've actually created my own little trophy hunting diary where I'm kind of documenting the trophy hunting progress that I'm doing, you know, all the new trophies I'm getting, all my goals for the year, what games I'm playing, you know, how many platinums I've gotten, you know, all my recent big trophy hunting milestones. I'm documenting them all, putting all that up on the forums, and I'm just kind of really going all in. I really want to do another trophy hunting competition, so if you do play the PlayStation 4 and you are a big trophy hunter, definitely, you know, leave a comment or join up in the forums or something like that, because I'm very interested in creating another trophy hunting competition. I would love to see some people who just, you know, even if you have a PS4 and you haven't really trophy hunted before, you just like playing, you know, games you enjoy just playing, and you get the odd trophy here and there, still join up and participate, because it's a lot of fun. We did one once a few months ago, perhaps in, it was July, I think it was. It was very successful. Everyone really had a great time with it, and a lot of people played their games that they haven't really got around to playing. They got some platinums that they never really got around to doing, and, you know, it was something different, something new for a lot of people, and I know a lot of people were really wanting to get back involved again on that. So if you are interested in participating in that trophy hunting competition, make sure you let me know in the comments. Just kind of shoot me a comment, shoot me a tweet, or join up in the forums, because I'm going to be making something about that this week on the forums, perhaps, if there is enough interest. So let me know if you want to do that. I really, really cannot wait, because it's a great excuse to trophy hunt. It's a really, really good excuse for me to go really hardcore at trophy hunting, which I love doing, and it's a great excuse for me to play my games, because I have so many fucking games to play, but so little motivation to play them all. And trophy hunting and doing a competition like that really helps my motivation. It certainly helped in In June and July, I finished a lot of games, got a lot of platinums that I didn't think I'd probably ever get. So that was very, very fun, and I would love to get back on there and do it all again. So if you are interested, let me know. And that's pretty much everything else I have for this week. I want to go ahead and get into some of your questions. We have some questions coming from the voicemails, the YouTube, and of course the forums. So let's get straight into those.
Hey Brennan, this is Jordan from South Carolina, and my question to you today is regarding WWE finally greenlighting Daniel Bryan to wrestle in the ring again. I know he is injury prone with his neck issues from the past few years, but with WWE running low on superstars due to injury and people's willingness to watch WWE anymore since it's kind of getting lackluster heading into WrestleMania, I would think that WWE would finally let Daniel Bryan come back to restore some excitement back. But do you think it's possible that WWE will not let him return until after WrestleMania, so another Daniel Bryan WrestleMania hijacking won't occur for the third time in a row? Once again, this is Jordan. I hope he answers this question.
Well, it's a good point. I mean, they are really missing a lot of star power. But the thing is, if Daniel Bryan isn't cleared to wrestle, don't make him wrestle. You don't want to have that insurance risk. You don't want to have this guy on your payroll and that you are the responsible, entity for letting this guy wrestle when he was not 100% ready to go. It's a bad idea. It's a lawsuit waiting to happen. Yes, they could say, look, legally, we want you to wrestle, but you can't wrestle unless you, sign this and agree to do this, whatever. But hey, they can always kind of bring this back up many years down the line, and Bryan could always do. It's not a good idea. It's not really worth the risk. Yes, they would love to have Daniel Bryan on their roster. I think everybody would love to see Daniel Bryan back, but it's not worth the risk. You don't want to risk this guy's health any more than he's already done to himself.
Hey, Brendan, I have one more question for you today, and this is regarding the WWE Divas. Now, I know we were excited when Becky Lynch, Sasha Banks, and Charlotte debuted alongside with Paige to create this hashtag Divas Revolution, but we've seen how that has tanked so far. But I want to know, why would they bring up Becky Lynch and Sasha Banks and they're doing absolutely nothing with them? They're just having tag matches and singles matches, but not getting involved in really storylines anymore or getting title shot opportunities. And do you think that it would just be best for them to send Becky Lynch back down along with Sasha Banks so they can have something to do in NXT and make awesome matches? This is Jordan. I hope he answers this question.
No, you've got to keep them on the main roster. You've got them up now. You've got to utilize them. The thing is, these women have to just wait their turn. Wait their time. They will get their opportunity. They will get their opportunity to shine. They just have to wait. You can't have everyone fighting for the title, but the thing is, the people that aren't fighting for the title should be in their own little storylines doing something else. There should be a number one contenders feud going on whilst there is already a title match feud. Charlotte and Paige, they're competing for the title. Why not do Sasha Banks and Becky Lynch, a number one contenders feud as well for the pay-per-view? Things like that would go a long way to improving the Divas division, because right now it's always one storyline, that's it. We can't have more than one storyline for the Divas division, and it's a shame. While Sasha Banks, we touched on it earlier on, she's getting the wins here and there. They're building her up. Eventually, she will get herself that Divas title around her waist, but I think she just has to kind of wait her turn and wait for the right moment. Becky Lynch has been the forgotten diva, in my opinion, in this quote-unquote revolution. I think she's been the forgotten one, but they are starting to slowly utilize her a little bit more. She's getting some mic time. She's getting a little, couple segments here and there to show her off and see what she can do. And she's doing okay. She just needs a chance to kind of show us what she can do in the ring. I don't think the fans have really gotten, invested in her matches yet. They're not really all that interested in her wrestling matches just quite yet. And she needs to have a good performance to get herself on the map here. And who that will be against, I'm not sure. But hey, wouldn't Sasha Banks be a good start for her?
Hi, Brendan. I wanted to ask you, when Seth Rollins returns, what pay-per-view do you think he will return at? And also, will he be a face or a heel? And do you think WWE is going to have him go for the title?
Absolutely, he'll be fighting for that WWE Championship when he comes back. Absolutely. He will be a babyface, in my opinion, and what is it now? 6 to 9 months away until he returns. Let's say, what is 6 months now? So we're in December, so perhaps around about Extreme Rules, Payback, Money in the Bank time. Perhaps he could be a surprise entrant for the Money in the Bank and win that again. I don't know, that's a possibility. I don't really want to see that, to be honest. He's been Money in the Bank before, I don't want to see that again, but I think definitely he'll be back in the title picture. He never lost the title. When you bring back a former champion who never lost it, it makes sense to throw them straight into the title. They're back, they want the title back, go straight after the champion. The storyline writes itself. And wouldn't it be great if Roman Reigns was the champion at the time, which is a big possibility that he might be. You know, they can cap off that Reigns and Rollins rivalry, and hey, whilst Rollins has been away, Reigns has been on top, you know, taking his spot, and Seth Rollins is back to take it back from Roman Reigns. I think it'd be a great rivalry. I think that one kind of, sells itself there. So I definitely would have him come back as a babyface, in my opinion. So if that's the case, Roman Reigns would probably not be a good fit, because there's no way Roman Reigns is going to turn heel. If he didn't turn heel at Survivor Series, he's never turning heel. So anyways, that will do it for that question. We'll move on to this week's questions from the YouTube and in the forums. This one comes from Edgar. What NXT vs WWE matchup are you most looking forward to? He wants to see John Cena versus Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar versus Apollo Crews. So what matchups would I like to see? I think, to be honest, Samoa Joe and John Cena would be good. Samoa Joe and Brock Lesnar would be good. Samoa Joe and, Cesaro would be cool. I think Apollo Crews is going to be a great superstar. I cannot wait to see him. So I wouldn't mind seeing him against anybody. I mean, some powerhouse guys would probably be preferable. He said Lesnar versus Crews. I could probably see that. I wouldn't, doubt that. Finn Balor versus Seth Rollins would be phenomenal. Finn Balor versus Neville again. Finn Balor versus, even the top guys, even John Cena, your Randy Ortons, guys like that. So there's plenty of great NXT matchups I would love to see. And that's just a few that have come off the top of my head. Next question comes from Alex Pace. Do you think we'll ever see the Shield again in the WWE and possibly one day in your universe mode? Well, the Shield in the WWE, I think, is a definite. I think that's going to happen in the next year or two. In my universe mode, probably. I mean, at the moment, not really likely. Rollins and Reigns hate each other. Ambrose hates Rollins and Reigns. Reigns hates Ambrose. All three of them hate each other. So it's probably unlikely, but you never say never, It's definitely a possibility down the line. Certainly not anytime soon. This one comes from J-Boy in the house. Hey, Brendan, do you think there are people like Samoa Joe and James Storm? Will they ever make it to the main roster? I'm going to say no, because to me, I think these two guys, and if they brought in an AJ Styles and these other top-level guys coming from TNA or New Japan, for example, you bring these guys in, I just get the feeling they want them in NXT. They want them to be a top draw for these NXT shows, because you got to remember, NXT is basically the WWE's equivalent to a indie show. They are on the road, and they don't have a huge high production. They have a ring, they've got a pretty decent set, but they don't really go too all out. It's not, a big arena. They book smaller arenas. Sometimes they get the big one, but obviously that's not all the time. So they need these independent draws on their cards, and you got guys like Joe and Storm that can really be that. You got Rhino on there as well, so you need some names on there to kind of keep the clock ticking. And I think a guy like Samoa Joe, it's certainly a good name to have there. James Storm as well. Would I like to see these guys come to the main roster after a couple years in NXT, after their time in NXT? It's pretty much all but done. Yes, definitely. If they still have some value left, they still have something to offer, they still can go, they're still doing well, sure, why not? Bring them up to the main roster and see how they go. Certainly Samoa Joe, I would love to see that. James Storm, I could go without. I don't really care. But Samoa Joe, I think that would be very interesting. I think majority of the fans would be more inclined to see a Samoa Joe up there. This one comes from Cedar22. What is your opinion on the current TLC lineup? We have Sheamus and Reigns, Ambrose and Owens, I should say, Del Rio and Swagger, Paige and Charlotte, etc. So what do I think about the rumored matchup so far? Honestly, the card looks okay, and you add in the Dudleys and Dreamer versus the Wyatts. The card looks okay, a lot better than Survivor Series already. Obviously, Ambrose and Owens, I think that would be a really good matchup again. Would love to see a stipulation perhaps involved in there. Reigns and Sheamus, I think that'll be pretty good, to a degree. It'll be a hard-fought hit, a bit of a brawling matchup, which is probably my preferred style. So I'll be intrigued about that one. And obviously the Dudleys and the Wyatts, that would be really good too. And even the Divas could be okay. Del Rio and Swagger, I'm not too hot about. I don't really care. I think we might see a rematch between Ziggler and Tyler Breeze on the pay-per-view as well. So some of those matches I'm not too fussed about. Also the tag team title match, the New Day, the Dragons, and the Usos as well. So that's another match up there, triple threat match. So if that's a ladder match or something like that, that'd be pretty cool. So I wouldn't mind, so far so good for the card. Some of the matches I'm okay with, and I think it's, your standard WWE pay-per-view at this point. Nothing extravagant, but nothing too bad. This one comes from Bailey14. Last week's Raw was at its worst in a while, as they had below 3 million viewers for the whole show. What are your thoughts on it, and what does WWE have to do to get us interested in the product? Now, we kind of touched on this a little bit earlier on. My thoughts on it, I think it's disastrous. You can blame NFL, you can blame whatever freaking shows on TV, you can blame all that, but at the end of the day, they only have themselves to blame. It's a stagnant product, it's boring, it's stale, it's a jaded concept. They are overexposing their superstars. The commentary team is not good. Their production is same. They need to do something to spice it up. There's really no reason to tune in every week. You could, watch a 10-minute highlight video on YouTube and you're good to go. Because that's really all there is. There might be one or two segments that are interesting. There's too much filler. There's not enough storylines, there's not enough creativity happening, and there's not enough freedom happening with the superstars. It seems to me they're just reading off scripts, and it just feels forced, doesn't feel natural. People are not getting over. The crowd reactions are getting smaller and smaller and smaller. Now, we talked about that earlier on, but I think that's the reason why they're getting smaller is because they're not really that interested. Yes, to agree, we have seen some big reactions in the past couple of years, but I think the reason why the crowd reactions are small now is because they're not interesting. Nothing really great and exciting is happening. So they just need to kind of focus on building some talent, building some stars, and getting some good storylines. It doesn't have to be anything amazing. Just have storylines. Just have some things going. Generate some build-up. Generate some interest. And to be honest, at least book a month in advance. Have some planning. Have some idea where you want to go. This one comes from Blade. There is a rumor floating around that WrestleMania 32 that there might be an Undertaker versus John Cena match. What is your opinion on this rumor? Do I think it should happen? And do I think it will be a great match? To me, this match is too many, maybe 3 years too late. I would have liked to have seen this one a few years ago. Did we really need to see a second Triple H and Undertaker matchup? Probably not. Could we have done John Cena in there instead? Probably. But did we need to have Cena and The Rock twice? Probably not. Could we have done John Cena and Undertaker there? Probably, yeah. So some of these things, some of these matches we didn't really need to see again, and we could have had a Cena and Undertaker match in there. To be fair, I always thought John Cena could have been the man to beat the streak. I always thought John Cena could have turned heel by beating the streak. It would have been a storyline that wrote itself. They never did that in the end, obviously, but that's the way I would have probably done a John Cena and Taker match in the end. I don't know why these guys, kind of avoided each other at WrestleMania. I don't know why this never really happened. I think it's a big marquee matchup. I think it would have been a great draw. But for some reason, the WWE always just decided to go against it. Could we have done Cena and Undertaker at WrestleMania 30? Instead of Lesnar and Taker? Sure. Could we have done it at 31 instead of Bray Wyatt? Possibly. We could have done these different matchups instead, and I think it would have been a much better, build, a much better, more exciting matchup. Instead of CM Punk, John Cena and CM Punk at WrestleMania 29. So there's so many different times that these matches could have happened, but it just didn't really seem to happen. The stars did not align, and unfortunately, we never really saw it. Undertaker's obviously well past his prime now, so the quality of his matches are never going to be as good as it possibly could have been. And John Cena's a guy who works well with a really, really good worker. So can John Cena really have a great match with The Undertaker? I don't know. I think Cena could do it, but I think it could have been a much better matchup perhaps 5 years ago instead. This next one comes from Flynn. With the Ambrose vs. Owens match being official for TLC, it currently has no stipulation. Do I believe a hardcore stipulation should be added, and if so, should it be a tables, ladders, or chairs match? I think a chairs match would probably suit these guys more. I think these guys climbing ladders. Yeah, no, I think we've already got a tables match set with the Dudley Boys and that, so I would probably just do a chairs match, honestly, and kind of go off that one. So to me, a chairs match would be the fit. I hope they don't do a stairs match, by the way, this year. That would be disastrous. Last year it was just terrible. Please don't do that again. Another one from Flynn. With John Cena currently returning after TLC, do you think he will be pushed into the world title scene or return to feud with Alberto Del Rio over the US title? To me, you got to put him in the world title picture. You got to have him right up there. God, if we have to do John Cena and Sheamus again, I'm okay with that, because we need someone with some credibility, with some star power in that main event division. Hell, when John Cena returns, I'm actually going to be legitimately excited, because John Cena, to me, is needed. He is a guy that I'm going to go, Cena, thank you so much for coming back. We need you right now. We need John Cena right now. As much as it pains me to say that, I would be much happier to see John Cena with that world title right now rather than Sheamus. And I think Cena coming back, forget about Del Rio, forget about that US title for now. Just kind of be in around that world title division. Don't get me wrong, I don't want to see him win it, but be involved. Be involved and be in amongst it and kind of have some matches with the top level stars again and help. This time, I hope Cena starts to put over some talent. The whole thing of Rusev and Kevin Owens this year, it's frustrating. It really could have been a different story for those two guys, but Cena didn't really give them the big rub in the end. I would like to see John Cena starting to lose some more feuds. He never loses feuds. He may lose a match or two, but he never loses feuds. The only guy who really beats him in a feud is Brock Lesnar, and that's because he's, Brock Lesnar. So John Cena, I would love to see him lose some feuds. Not too many, perhaps just, put over some guy, put over somebody who deserves it, and let them kind of, become a big star off of John Cena's name. This guy beat John Cena, and he's beaten him twice now. They had 3 matches. He beat him twice. He's better than John Cena. He's right up there with John Cena. Immediately you pay attention to the guy. Look at Kevin Owens. When he came in and he beat Cena, we immediately saw Kevin Owens as a big deal. Do we see him as a big deal now as he was 6 months ago? No. So John Cena has the ability to put over some guys and really establish some names, and I would love to see him do it again. And finally, this one comes from Decent Stuff. Is there anything WWE can do to save Bray Wyatt now? Yes, Bray Wyatt is not done just yet. He's almost, don't get me wrong, very close. If he starts to lose any more feuds, he is going to be finished. But Bray Wyatt, to me, what they did to him on Raw this week was perfect. They had the 3 guys, Strowman, Harper, and Rowan. You had these 3 guys, and they're all protecting Bray. What happens? They're all in there trying to beat up Bubba Ray, and they make a mistake, and they get to Bray Wyatt for an instance. They get one move on Bray, and it's huge. It's meaningful. They put him through the table. Here we go. The rivalry is sparked. Bray Wyatt needs to be the guy that everyone has to get through. He's 3 bodyguards, he's 3 henchmen. Once they get through those guys, then they get to Bray Wyatt. Bray Wyatt should not be wrestling, and if he does wrestle, he should be wrestling last. He should be the final man. When you play in Mortal Kombat and you beat the other 10 superstars and you get to the top of the list, that you need to be fighting that boss, and that boss should be Bray Wyatt. So to me, Bray Wyatt has to be the leader. He should be the last man in action. So I think Bray Wyatt wrestling should not happen. I think it should be quite rare that we see Bray Wyatt in a match, and when we do see Bray Wyatt in a match, it's meaningful, it's a big deal, and has a big fight feel, because look, Roman Reigns, he got through Rowan, he got through Harper, he got through Strowman, it gets to Bray Wyatt now. So to me, that is a much bigger deal, and I think it's a better way to utilize Bray Wyatt and the Wyatt family as a whole. Alrighty guys, that will do it for this week's edition of Let's Talk Tuesdays. If you did enjoy this week's edition, make sure you smash the like button. It would be fantastic if we could hit 7 likes on this week's episode. Of course, if you want to leave a question for next week's episode, please do so by leaving a comment in the YouTube's comment section down below, or over at the forums at BrendanPlays.com/forums, or you can also leave a voicemail for next week's show by clicking the big green button on the right hand side of the page on BrendanPlays.com. Make sure you go check out the payback page on the website as well, and make sure you sign up to the forums as well, not only to leave your questions, but get involved in the discussion on everything that I've talked about this week and a hell of a lot more. So guys, thank you so much again for checking out this week's edition. Of course, leave a like on the video. Check us out on Spreaker, Stitcher, iTunes, iHeartRadio, and of course on YouTube. And guys, have a great week. I hope this week in wrestling was a little bit better for you. It was for me. My hatred for Sheamus is a little slimmer. It's still there. I'm still disgusted that he's the champion, but I can deal with it, and I'm hanging in. I'm hanging in there. So we'll see how next week goes. Guys, thank you so much for watching. See you next time.